Vegas has long been known as the magic capital of the world to the general public, a place where magicians of all stripes dream of entertaining crowds primed to enjoy the mystery arts. But the truth is, I haven't always loved Vegas. There's just something about it that never resonated with me. Maybe it's because everything is fake. Or it could be because it's designed to extract every last dollar out of you before they ship you home on a red-eye flight. But the subject of today's review, Neon Dreams, changed the way I think about Vegas and what that city means to the magic world. Along the way, I learned an interesting fact about the first magician to ever perform on the Vegas Strip, all the way back in 1941. But before we get to that, what is this book, who is the author, and how did it change my mind on Vegas? The book is the latest from Vanishing Ink, my employer by the way, and it was written by Lance Rich. Quite simply, it is a 360-plus page hardback book covering the history of magic in Las Vegas. There are lots of pictures, interviews, and storytelling to keep you engaged and inspired. To be clear, it doesn't teach any actual magic tricks, but it does give magicians something more than tricks: inspiration. As previously mentioned, the author is Lance Rich. Lance is a professional performer based out of Kansas City, Missouri. He's primarily an illusionist, but he also has a passion for magic history. Along with his partner, David Sandy, he won a 2021 Alan Slate Award for the Magic Collector's Corner, a pandemic-era online show dedicated to sharing magic history. Since Las Vegas is the magic capital of the world, Lance wanted to share the story of how this desert town came to symbolize everything that magic could be. And as far as how this book changed my mind about Vegas, we'll come to that in just a little bit. Let's talk about who this book is for. I think this book could be for anyone who appreciates magic and likes to be inspired by the stories of other magicians. There are no shortage of inspirational stories, as well as some that may serve as cautionary tales. But I know for a fact this book will appeal to anyone who has visited Vegas over the years to take in a magic show. There's a lot of nostalgia within these pages, tales from some of the biggest magic celebrities and shows on the Strip. You'll hear the Vegas origin stories of Siegfried and Roy, David Copperfield, Lance Burton, Penn and Teller, Mac King, and others. But the author doesn't restrict it to just the biggest names. He also tells the stories of smaller behind-the-scenes characters who played pivotal roles. People like Gary Darwin, who hosted a magic club where both residents and visitors could get to know each other, share magic techniques, and swap outlandish stories about their escapades in a town known for its excess. He also touches on resident house magicians like Michael Skinner, Daniel Cross, Jimmy Grippo, and more. There are also tales from consultants and performers in their own right, like Johnny Thompson. But beyond the magicians, you may also enjoy this book if you are a student of history and want to understand how Vegas became the magic capital of the world. The book isn't quite a coffee table book. It's more of a history book told through the lens of compelling stories. Lance teases you along, punctuating the history with interludes about the first magician to perform on the Vegas Strip. The book is not quite in chronological order, but more on that in a bit. Let's take a look at what I liked and what I thought could have been better about this book. Whether or not you're into magic history, I know you probably like magic books if you've made it this far into the episode, which is why I'm really pleased to tell you about the sponsor of this week's episode, Don's Magic and Books. Don appreciates the rich history that magic has through the printed word. For centuries, magicians have been learning magic from books. And to continue that proud tradition, Don offers all kinds of books on his website. He has some of the newest releases, older books that are harder to find, out of print. So whether you're a rope magician, a parlor magician, a close-up magician, you just like to do some tricks with cards for your friends, check out the listings on Don's website because I know you're going to find something that will help you in your magical journey, and you're going to find it at a great price. I know because I've bought many books from Don at extremely reasonable prices, and when you combine that with his free shipping offer, it just becomes an unbeatable deal. And you're doing business with someone who absolutely loves and values the written word. So the next time you're thinking about buying a book, check out Don's Magic and Books, which I'll link down in the description below. What are some things that I liked about Neon Dreams? The first thing is the history. This book helped change my perspective on Las Vegas. In the past, I didn't always appreciate Vegas. It felt fake, even though the fact that it can exist in the middle of a desert speaks to the real magic at work there. Part of what changed my mind was understanding the history. Lance explains how Vegas rose to prominence so quickly from its humble beginnings in 1905, and what helped to make it a gambling and magic mecca. He not only tells you the history of Vegas, he explains how magic played a pivotal role in the development of the town. You'll hear stories from Vegas insiders, illusion designers, producers, performers, and more, each more intriguing than the last. And it's not just the successes, you'll also hear about some of the colossal failures from the very heart of Vegas showrooms. But beyond the history, the other thing that I loved is the inspiration. In a town that promoted gambling, so many magicians bet on themselves and convinced others to do so with them, sometimes to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. Regardless of the outcome of those wagers, I was inspired by the variety of acts and personalities that were drawn to the city. Magicians who believed in themselves even when no one else did. I know you'll be inspired too to become a better magician as you read some of their stories. Sure, you won't have the same budget and venues that these performers did, but they didn't all have these advantages when they were starting out. The theme that kept coming up again and again is that they started before they were ready. Then they threw their heart and soul into creating the best magical experience that they could for their audiences. And that is the real lesson for us. On a scale of 1 to 10 for inspiration, this book provides an 11. What are some of the things that I thought could have been better? I believe that this is the author's first major work, and it's a tremendous accomplishment. But he uses a lot of passive voice in his writing. You may not know what I'm talking about or think that I'm being pedantic, but passive voice is harder to read. Since I read this book cover to cover in a fairly short time period, it probably made more of an impact on me than it will on you. I want to be clear, this isn't a hard read, and many won't even notice the passivity. The other thing that I felt could have been better was the organization. I mentioned earlier that the book is slightly chronological. The author jumps back and forward in time to help tell his story. And it generally works, but there are times that I found it slightly confusing. I'm sure this was an artistic choice, and it certainly doesn't destroy the value of the book, but you'll have to read it and see if you agree with my assessment. Speaking of value, the standard edition of this book retails for $60, and there is a deluxe version of the book if you're into that sort of thing. It's leather bound, includes a slipcase, a signed and numbered book plate, and a signed photo of Gloria Day. We'll come to her in a second. There are only 300 deluxe editions available, and they retail for $150. Ultimately, I do believe there's a lot of value in this book. If you like Vegas magic, you'll love reading about the acts that you've watched and followed over the years. And if you don't know Vegas magic, you'll be inspired as you learn the rich history of magic in a town built around the art. The big buildup in the book is about the first magician to perform on the Vegas Strip. This is surprisingly relatively new information and wasn't known until a few years ago. Lance will walk you through how he and some others made this discovery and how it impacted everything they thought they knew about the history of magic in Vegas. The big surprise about this first performer is that it was a female magician, and her name is Gloria Day. I'm not going to spoil anything by sharing all of her backstory here, but I thought it was a really cool and heartfelt climax to the book involving David Copperfield and the entire city of Las Vegas. After the author and some of his friends found Gloria, she finally got the recognition that she deserved, and they even had the opportunity to meet with her several times and record an interview. She started it all, and her story is a microcosm of what makes this book great. That Vegas provides inspiration to all magicians and continues to be a beacon of magic, drawing performers to chase their neon dreams. If you want to learn more about what it takes to be a Vegas pro, check out my review of Piff the Magic Dragon Volume 1. As always, my friends, I appreciate you watching, and until next time, keep reading.